I want you to picture this. Your realtor found you the perfect house. Your lender says you're pre-approved, but these two individuals, the realtor and the lender, probably haven't said a single word to each other about the deal at all. And in fact, I've dealt with this just the other day. I was speaking with my borrower who put me in contact with their realtor, which I do not have a working relationship with. I've texted, I emailed, I called in order to introduce myself, talk a little bit about the transaction, and sure enough, silence. Not a text message back, not an email back, not a phone call returned. And this happens more than you know, and it's costing you your deal. It's costing you your dream home because there's a lack of communication between the two parties that are supposed to be holding your hand through this entire transaction. Let me show you exactly how this happens. Most people think the home buying process works like a relay race. You meet with your lender, you get pre-approved, you hand the letter over to your realtor, and off you go. The lender stays in their lane, the realtor stays in theirs, and everyone does their job independently. That's the popular opinion. That's how it's supposed to work. Clean, professional, no overlap needed. Here's my contrarian take and my actual take. That model is broken and hasn't worked and doesn't work because one of the two parties isn't doing their part. And it's broken in ways that are completely invisible to you until the deal absolutely falls apart. I've been originating loans for over 2 decades, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that the biggest disasters I've seen weren't caused by bad realtors or incompetent lenders. They're caused by good professionals who simply weren't talking to one another. They weren't communicating in any form or fashion. Let me paint you a picture of what this actually looks like. You're a buyer, you get pre-approved for $450,000. Your realtor takes you out, shows you homes in that range, and you fall in love with one that's listed at $440,000. Perfect, right? You're under budget. You write an offer, it gets accepted, you're ecstatic. Then, 3 weeks into the process, your lender calls. Hey, quick question about the HOA. What are the dues? Your realtor says, $350 a month. And just like that, you no longer qualify. Because that HOA payment combined with the property taxes on that house pushed your debt to income ratio over the threshold. Your lender knew your income. They knew your debts, but they didn't know the exact property taxes on 427 Maple Street. They didn't know about the HOA. And your realtor, they knew those numbers cold. They knew those numbers from the get-go, but they didn't discuss them with the lender. They had no idea those numbers mattered to your qualification. Nobody did anything wrong, but nobody talked. And now you've lost the house, wasted 3 weeks, and your sellers are moving forward with a backup offer. This isn't a one-off story. This is a pattern, and we see it on a regular basis. Here's another one. Investment properties. You're buying your third rental. Your realtor knows you own 2 other properties. Your lender knows you own 2 other properties. What neither of them knows is whether those properties are currently rented, what the lease terms are, or if you're planning to sell one before closing on this new one. Your realtor assumes that the lender has figured all that out, as they should. Your lender assumes you've told the realtor the plan. Week 4 of the transaction, underwriting asks for 2 years of tax returns on their rentals. Turns out, one property has been vacant for 4 months. That rental income can't be counted. Your debt-to-income ratio just spiked. You now need a bigger down payment. Do you have it? Maybe, maybe not. But we're finding out 30 days into a 45-day contract, and now everybody's scrambling. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The problem isn't competence. The problem is structural. Realtors and lenders operate in completely different worlds with completely different priorities. Your realtor gets paid when you close. Their job is to find you a house you love and negotiate the best deal possible. They're thinking about comps, market conditions, inspection issues, appraisal gaps. Your lender gets paid when you close too, but their job is to prove to an underwriter that you can actually afford that loan. They're thinking about tax returns, pay stubs, credit reports, debt ratios. These are 2 entirely different skill sets focused on 2 entirely different parts of the same exact transaction. And the industry has decided the best way to handle this is to keep them entirely separate. Now, here's where people push back. But Darren, that's what the pre-approval is for. That's the whole point. And I get that. That's the conventional wisdom. The pre-approval is supposed to be the bridge. It tells the realtor what you can afford and off you go. And in a perfect world with simple transaction, that absolutely works. But here's what a pre-approval actually is. It's a snapshot of your life based on information you provided at the moment, analyzed against a generic property. It doesn't account for the specific house you're going to fall in love with. It doesn't account for the HOA, the property taxes on that exact address, the flood insurance requirement, or the fact that it's a condo with special assessments coming. It can't, because that information doesn't exist at that time in the majority of all cases. A pre-approval is a starting point. It's not the finish line. And treating it like a finish line is where buyers get hurt. Let me acknowledge the other side here, because it is fair. Some people argue that the realtors and lenders talking too much creates conflicts of interest. If they're too close, maybe they're steering you towards deals that benefit them instead of you. Maybe the lender's pushing for you to top out your budget because that's a bigger commission to the lender. Maybe the realtor is recommending their lender buddy who isn't actually the best fit for your situation. Those concerns aren't baseless. They are real. And I'm not suggesting some cozy arrangement where your realtor and lender are best friends who vacation together. What I am suggesting is strategic communication at key moments in the transaction. Not constant chatter, not daily check-ins, but intentional conversations that prevent the disasters I just described. Here's what that looks like in practice. Before you even write an offer, your realtor should be sending your lender the property address. Not asking for permission, not asking if you qualify, just, hey, we're looking at 427 Maple Street. Here are the taxes, the HOA, and the insurance estimates. Flag anything that changes the math. That's a 5-minute conversation that saves weeks of heartbreak. During the inspection period, your realtor should loop in your lender if any major repairs come up. Why? Because if the seller agrees to a $10,000 credit instead of fixing the roof, that changes your loan. You're now financing $10,000 more. Does that affect your approval? Maybe, maybe not. But we should know before you're in attorney review. When the appraisal comes in low, your realtor and lender should be on the phone immediately, not separately strategizing and then reporting back to you with conflicting advice. Together, figuring out whether you're bringing more cash, renegotiating, or just simply walking away from the transaction. This isn't complicated. It's just pure communication, but it almost never happens. And here's why it doesn't happen. Realtors are busy. They're juggling multiple clients, showings, negotiation, inspections, and don't forget family. Calling the lender for every property feels like an overkill, and I understand that. Lenders are buried in paperwork. They're processing loans, chasing documents, dealing with underwriters, and again, dealing with family. Reaching out to a realtor feels like stepping outside their lane. And buyers, you're just trying to survive the process. You assume the professionals have it handled. Nobody's incentivized to change a system until something breaks. And by the time it breaks, well, it's usually way too late. Let me give you a real example of what happens when communication actually works. I had a client last year, he's a move-up buyer, selling their current home, trying to buy a bigger one. The realtor called me before they wrote the offer. Darren, they're selling for $380,000, buying for $520,000. Closing dates are tight. Walk me through the timing. We mapped it out. Turns out if the house closed even 3 days late, they need a bridge loan to close on that new house. Did they have a bridge loan approved? Absolutely not. Could we get that in place preemptively? Yes, of course. We set it up. The house closed 4 days late. The bridge loan kicked in. They closed on the new house on time. Zero drama, zero surprises. Why? Because the realtor picked up the phone before we were in crisis mode. And here's the nuanced conclusion. I'm not saying every realtor and lender needs to be best friends. Again, they don't need to vacation together. I'm not saying you should only work with teams that are joined at the hip or paying referral fees. What I'm saying is this: if your realtor and lender are not communicating at key moments in the transaction, you're taking on necessary risk as a buyer. And if this risk is invisible until it costs you a house, the system isn't designed for them to talk, but the best professionals do it anyway, and they do it on a regular basis. They do it because they've seen what happens when they don't, and who suffers most? It's the buyer, it's your client. So here's what you do as a buyer. When you're interviewing realtors and lenders, ask them directly, how do you communicate with each other during the transaction? If the answer is we don't really need to do that, or the pre-approval handles that, you need to keep on looking, just move along. If the answer is we check in at key milestones to make sure nothing falls through the cracks, you found somebody who actually gets it. You're not asking them to be friends. You're asking them to be strategic. The home buying process is complicated enough without adding communication failures to the mix. You're already dealing with inspectors, appraisers, negotiations, moving logistics. The last thing you need is a surprise in week 3 because 2 professionals who should have talked didn't. Your realtor has information your lender needs. Your lender has insights your realtor needs. And you're the one who pays the price when that information doesn't flow. It doesn't have to be this way. If you think I'm wrong, if you think the current system works fine and realtors and lenders should stay in their lanes, I want to hear it. Change my mind. Tell me why a 5-minute call before you write an offer is an overkill. Tell me why waiting until week 3 to discover a qualification issue is acceptable. I'm genuinely curious. I really want to know the answer. Because from where I sit, after 20 years of doing this, the deals that go smoothly are the ones where people actually talk to each other, and the deals that fall apart, they fall apart in silence. And that, my friends, is guaranteed.